Hello, people. Hello to the people. Hello to the people. Yeah, I hope you're all top G's. We don't even want 90% G's here. Top G's only, man. No Golden Monkey. I am drinking a Coke Zero right now. Hear this? Okay. Why is someone called I'm a pushover in this channel? It clearly says in the title, this stream is for top G's only. You wrote a game in the 90s called Pushover. Okay. Let's do our research. This is a different one because it's from 2018, unless it's a port. It says classic game. That looks like it could be from the 90s. The game was sponsored by British snack Quavers. That I don't know anything about any of that. Colin Curley losing his Quavers packets. Okay, I did not grow up with Colin Curley. I don't know anything about this. I am culturally... Amiga, Atari ST, MS-DOS, and Super NES. Weirdly, so at that time I was in college. I did not have any of these platforms. I actually, you know, when the Amiga was like late 80s, it was like 87, right? 85. So like I had a freaking Commodore 64 all the way till 89. And like I had friends who had Amigas and I was like, God damn it, they're so much better. Okay. Last night, we detected a couple of different problems in the gameplay code. There's sort of two classes of things. There's problems where, you know, due to the new gameplay code for skipping and lilies, things behave less like we would want, or straight up buggy, like being able to teleport something into a square where there already is something. So that's a problem. And then once those are fixed, there's a question about then game feel and how can we make the transaction system make stuff feel better. So if you remember, we were trying to do a level, well, those of you who were there, we were trying to do a level where we teleport stones into a row, and it was very hard to do because of there was both a player timing judgment problem and just the way the system is set up, like it's kind of laggy in terms of things teleport, and that takes time, and then it has to be in the right place to skip, and then maybe there's some and there are just like latencies incurred by the way the system works, and so we could like trim some of those out. But I think what we're going to do right now is just focus on the bugs. This might be a short to medium-sized stream where we just fix the bugs. And then I might go out into the world and like have a day in the world. What would I do out in the world? I don't know. Probably order a golden monkey tea like I would at home. Okay, so let's set up one of these bugs. I could just go to that level and just set it up and save the changes, but we just won't check them in. Ah, I'm getting pushed. Boy. Debug build frame rate. All right. I really should be actually running this from the debugger right now, but okay, so this was our level and we were having big problems. I'm just gonna set some dudes up here. Right. Oh, whoops. Weird. I was looking at the wrong axis. All right. And then we can set this up and right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just even delete these. Okay. Wait, this is too far. That's too far. There we go. Okay, that was too late. There we go. So Okay, we have a teleport happening to 415.0. And we have a linear interpolation going into that square. So, okay. So probably, this is why I should be running this in the debugger, but we will in a second. Normally, the transaction system would detect that and say there's a conflict here, right? And it probably is doing that. But then we have conflict resolve procedures that allow movements to happen in certain circumstances. And I added some of those having to do with teleporting. I mean, look at this shit, though. We've got stationaries, but then skipping guys going in. Oh, hold on a second. I was going to make some baked potatoes, and the oven is beeping that it's ready. But, like, see these guys skipping into these other guys? What the hell is that? Also, why do I have multiple stationaries? There's so many problems right here. See how we've got two stationaries for 151, 147, and 153? Like, what the hell is that? Okay. Back in a second. Let me put the potatoes in. Baked potatoes are the elite breakfast meal of top G's around the world. Look at all these rocks just going into the same place. What is even happening? And then they just all stopped on each other. That's great. Where's my found. Top G only eats meat though, dude. Potatoes are meat. All right, get with the program. All right, so we're gonna run in the debugger, and we're gonna set a breakpoint in resolve. Okay, because I think that's. Let's just look at resolve for a second. Okay. Those are not the ones. We're looking for here. If we are teleporting a skipping stone, allow it. Okay. See this? I'm saying if we're going to collide with a rock, see, I wrote this exception for mirroring skipping rocks or whatever. And in that case, or wizard swap with rock, right? Okay. Teleporting anything really. Okay. So theirs is that's the entity. Manager, see move info, yours.target, see that move info, theirs.target. Okay. I think that'll stop this problem. The question is if that hoses other stuff. Okay, why? Oh, that's the start of the level. Never mind. Here's what I'm going to do. Because this is a timing thing, I kept undoing, and I'm like, why are they not undoing further? Let's just start these here so that we have setup time. So I can... Okay, that was good timing anyway. What if I do it here? Okay, good. Failed. Did you see that? Teleport failed. That would have caused this bug before. Oh shit, wait, what was that? It still happened. Fuck. Maybe it's just harder now? Okay, did I actually run from the debugger this time? No, of course not. Okay. Really? Okay. We've got a conflict. I should have put it up on the screen, but... Wait, what? Oh my god. Okay, so I think we still ended up with two stones inside each other, right? Fucking... What is all this shit? Yeah. Okay, so... That was even more alarming, but explains some things. So what happened there was we saw the conflict, we rejected it. It didn't even get to that code. So I'm going to mark this code that I just wrote. The deal is, we rejected the whole transaction. You know, Philip K. Dix, we can remember it for you wholesale. We can also reject it for you wholesale. And okay. Now this is weird. So the teleport already fired. So this is the skipping stones. They have finished their move into the current square, and they're trying to go to the next square into which a teleport is going. And this is going to generate this conflict. So it's the skipping stone transaction that's at fault now, which I hadn't thought was the case. So let's just make sure that this is what happens. We didn't resolve the skips. Okay. So we don't break from the loop. So then we force commit the teleport. And we try again. We don't have teleports. This teleports is a different, that's for things being carried by stone. So now we probably have a conflict again. No, we don't. So why wasn't that teleporting stone in a transaction at all? Okay, here's what I'm going to do. The next step is to step through. So when we're forming the skipping stone transaction, we're doing a bunch of tricky stuff. And like, we're supposed to behave as adults in there. And we're like not. Okay, I've also got to write down this extra stationaries problem because that's like a whole separate thing. But, so we've got extra stationaries. We've got teleport conflict. Okay. Like this guy, these other guys, dude, these stones just don't even give a shit. They'll just go like, okay. Do I even lift is my question here. All right. Like, what if I just do this? Like, do we give a shit about that? Oh, we do. So that works, but somehow under other conditions it doesn't work. See, all that is working correctly, but there's something about this particular scenario. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to delete, there's just two stones. There's 6147 and 151. 151 is the moving one. All right. And we're going to make this conflict happen again. It's going to get resolved, and then we're going to go look at WTF. Okay. Or it's not going to get resolved. So this, we come back, resolved skips is false. All right. We revert this transaction, and then we do the new one. Okay. So now, what transactions are active? We completed the teleport. There are two, interestingly. One, okay, so probably it should be the guy and the teleport again. But the teleport should be flagged as committed. Let's see what they are. Okay. So this is the guy. It's got the driven by a controller flag. So I know that. I don't need to look at that one closer. This one is probably the teleport. It's got one move. It's a teleport of the stone. Flushed added moves. This is physically moved. So this stone is in the target position now. So there should be a stone at 4,15. And we'll probably see that because here when we make skipping transaction, I believe we iterate over all the stones. Okay. Was that it? No, 5,15 is the skipping guy. Right? And he's skipping into 4,15. Okay. Now, this one's not falling, it's skipping. All right. Is it already in a transaction? No. We're setting him up as a guy who's skipping. This is fine. We're setting information for the move. What does can go say? It says true. Probably due to this ignore skipping stones flag that I added. Now, let's verify that. Oh God, we're stepping through the profiler. So we do all this code. We're searching for objects in the target position. There's one thing. It's going to be our guy. It's not going to be in our transaction. Okay. Wait. Okay, this guy was set to skipping. Okay. So here's what's going to happen. This guy was set to skipping because he completed his teleport. So the skipping, we teleported him over water. He was moving. So we said this stone is skipping across the water, as we should. However, he's still in the teleport transaction. Now, okay, let me step back and explain what we're doing. We're in this function called can_go. That's one of the core workhorse functions of this code, right? Objects call can_go to see if you can put them where they're trying to be put. And that's something that you want to know all the time in a game like this. Now, what we do for the skipping stone transaction specifically is we call can_go in a special mode where we say ignore skipping stones if you see them. Why do we do that? Because we say, hey, in this loop, we're going to handle all the skipping stones because we want them to move in concert. And so we want to pretend like we could go into any square containing a skipping stone because they're all just moving in different directions, and we're going to resolve any problems there ourselves. So the caller is taking the responsibility of maintaining the integrity of skipping stones specifically relative to each other, which all sounds great. The problem is this guy is flagged skipping, but he's still in the teleport transaction, which means he is not in the skipping stone transaction, which means he is not getting checked against. Because I will show you the code that we just skipped through. This thing here, we say, hey, if a rock's teleporting, skip it. We're not going to think about it, okay? Well, if that rock happens to be flagged skipping, we're going to ignore it here due to the teleport, and can_go is going to ignore it because it's flagged skipping. So these two checks are inconsistent with each other. One of them needs to change, or we need to just fundamentally alter what we are doing here. Make sense? Good. Good. Quiet chat. Who is very quiet? Now the question is, what is a reasonable solution? Solution number one, in can_go, where we ignore skipping stones, I could ask if it's in a teleport, which is kind of gross and stupid. Number two, I can check here any rock that is flagged skipping see, all of these cases cause us to ignore the stone. So I think what I want to do is I want to put any of these stones that are flagged skipping in the all skips transaction. And we'll just put a different, like there's this value called animation. Let's just do this. So we're going to have this animation called doing something else. And this at least, all right. Now let's, so we're going to explicitly, okay. So all of these cases would have caused this to happen. Although in this, the skipping off the map case, we don't necessarily care. Okay, doing something else. Now, that is going to fail to compile now because this if was marked complete. So we need to go here. You have some game design questions. They had better be top G questions. I will take game design questions now, but top G questions only. Fuck. I thought for sure that would... Well... Let's see what we do. So it's in the all skips array, but that may not matter. Oh, we fucking... Okay. Why am I putting an arrow? Okay, I don't even want to think about this yet. Okay, actually, okay, I think we can fix this in a little bit. Okay. I think just setting that resolve target position should help. We'll see. You've been designing a mobile game. Okay, this is already not a top G question. Okay, now I'm resetting the fucking thing. And we're already colliding with ourself or something? Bullshit. Okay, let's see the question. You draw lines to cast spells, and the way you draw them affects what the spells do. Do I think dynamic spell casting is still a good core game idea? Well, no. I mean, the reason I didn't do that game, you can find this. I talk about this in a couple interviews somewhere. I don't remember which ones. The version of that game I was trying to do did not end up being very playable. And the reason is that the design idea was like, hey, I'm using the way that you draw the spell to trade off between parameters of the spell. And that just wasn't something that my brain wanted to do with any nuance, right? Like, I would cast Magic Missile and, you know, hey, I could, it was like the mana was sort of tied to the length of the line that you could draw, right? And so you would sort of choose how to put the points into the different parts of the drawing. And the thing was, my brain just didn't want to think about it that much. It was just more like I wanted the fast Magic Missile or the guided Magic Missile or whatever. And so I didn't end up using the smooth parameter space of the thing. So I just kind of gave up on the idea and moved on to something else that happened to make millions of dollars. So it's fine. But, you know, it's not to say that I couldn't have made that design work if I'd thought about it more, especially now that I'm a more experienced designer. I might actually design the game where it starts out being okay and understanding the idea that you're going to want to just do these extremes of the space. And then just give you stuff to do with that until you're more experienced and want to explore the interior of the space, if that ever happens, which I don't know if it does. The game is semi-turn based on a rhythmic pulse so that you can cast a spell every 5 seconds. Meaning you have room to care about how well you draw the spell. I mean, in mine, that's 5 seconds is not enough. All right. That's way too fast, I think. Okay, here's the other problem. Here's what I would say about this. You could actually, so if you've played The Witness, it sounds like you have, or you've at least seen it, you know what it's like. It's a similar thing. You like draw a line. Now, if you go play Taiji, which came out a week ago, is now available on Steam. It's a similar puzzle solving game, but in that game, the input mechanism is different, right? The input mechanism it changes up a little bit through the game, but it's largely about like clicking tiles to achieve a certain configuration. And now here's the thing about that. It's a more forgiving mechanic that gives you more room to experiment and play in a certain way. Because in The Witness, you start drawing a line and you basically have to continue the line the whole time. And if you want to change an early part of it, you have to erase the later part of it or whatever, right? You can't incrementally converge on a solution, where in the Taiji mechanic you can. And so, if you were doing this thing, let's ignore the drawing a line, because that's historically a thing that you did in games to cast a spell, right? In some games. Just say you have some input that you're inputting to generate a spell with certain parameters, and we want that to be as interesting as possible. Is drawing a line a good version of that? And I would argue that thing about it not necessarily being incrementally changeable, it's unclear, because at expert levels that adds a skill dimension. If you have a certain amount of time to draw the thing and you don't want to like undo it, or maybe you can't undo, so you spend mana if you botch the spell. But as a beginner thing, as like helping people grapple with this space, it's actually not a very forgiving input mechanism. And that might be bad. Whereas if you imagine you just had some sliders for the different parameters of the magic missile, that's very forgiving. It's also not very fun or engaging or interesting. And so there's a deep question there about what is really the best version of this to do. The brain's going through to take a nuanced process and make it intuitive over time to the point where you don't think about it. Yeah. So that's the question. So that I never, when I was prototyping my version of this, I never did it long enough to go through that process myself. So the question is, does that change it up a lot? And does it resolve the problem? So one interpretation of what I did was maybe I just gave up too soon and should have played with it more, right? I mean, again, not really, because what I ended up doing was a good thing for me to do. But imagining that I were just sticking on that game, you need to start out simple enough to get buy-in from the players to want to learn to draw spell lines well. Yeah. Like what I would do if I were designing this game today. So mine was like an open world RPG kind of a thing. What I would actually do is at the start of the game, I wouldn't tell people that they could control. And in fact, maybe you can't control in the beginning. Like you just draw the shape and it parses the shape and it says that's magic missile or that's healing or whatever, right? And then this gives you progression. As you level up, let's say at level 2 of casting magic missile, maybe you unlock in the tech tree or something, like the length of the neck of the shape helps control speed, and you could put extra mana into that. Right? You could put more or less mana into that by making the line shorter or longer. And maybe the rest of the shape doesn't matter yet, right? And so how do you do that? I mean, maybe when you draw it, the color of the line changes to tell you that this is a part where you're controlling. I don't know. That part's complicated. But you could, like, over time opt in parts of the shape as you unlock that in the tech tree to being things that you think about as controlling the spell, and that can make it much more learnable. That sounds like a design task I would try. Yeah, it's just hitting someone over the head with the whole multi-dimensional thing out of the gate is too much. People can't do it. Like, I felt like as a designer of the game, I couldn't do it. So there was no way anyone else was going to do it. But with appropriate like teaching and tutorialization and progression, and not necessarily hand holding teaching like a lot of games do in their tutorial, but just like you give them simpler things to do over time and you ramp up the complexity. That does two things. One, it helps people learn the spell stuff. But two, it provides progression and leveling up that's more interesting than what games usually do, right? Like games, usually leveling up is just like, hey, you get to add some numbers to your stats. But now it's like you get to do more. You get to have more capabilities fundamentally. That's like more interesting. Would I randomize the spell designs for each player? I don't know. Maybe not. The thing is, when you design the shape, you're thinking about, if you're a good designer, you're thinking about the ergonomics of casting the spell when you design the shape. Excuse me, I'm coughing up a lung. Somebody shot me with a 9mm and it blew the lung out of my body. Anyway, you know what I'm saying there. Hopefully. Like, I wouldn't try to randomize the shape because it would be bad. You guys know this, right? 9mm blows the lung right out of your body. Look it up on the internet if you don't believe me. How do you handle stuttering when the frame rate of your game is higher than the frame rate of your physics engine? Well, you cry, basically. The frame rate of your game can't actually be higher than the frame rate of your physics engine. Not really. You can try to fake it, but it can't really be. Someone made a video about that. Yes, the video was... It was this one.
Up to down, okay. Then the sixth graders won't mess with you anymore.
Guys, you gotta see this.
I'm going to have to go take care of the baked potatoes in a minute. Have I played Taiji after its release? Yeah, I mean, I played most of it earlier this year, but I did finish the game a couple days ago. I do recommend it. Anyone who hasn't played it, it's a good game. If you like The Witness or you like good puzzle games, it's a good game. Okay. It's so nuts in that quote that they're trying to make out 9mm as being like the whole premise of that speech was that 9mm is some heavy caliber round, right? That we should outlaw or something. When, like, dude, there's only one round commonly in service in the US that is smaller than 9mm. And it's tremendously smaller. It's like, what are you guys doing? I don't know. It was nuts. All right. Yeah. One of my favorite puzzle games of all time, Steven Sausage Roll. Yeah, we did change the sim loop for Braid Anniversary Edition. You know, it's probably fine. Somebody else did it, so I actually don't know because I didn't write that code the exact nuances of what it's doing. Which I should go look at. For sure. That's the baked potato alarm. Let me go go take care of that. Anyway, we have this problem where 9mm is causing our rock to not go. We might be checking the... Oh, you know what? All right. So this... I just want to verify that we're back in the working zone. There we go. See that? Okay. Hey, look! It didn't go into the square. See that shit? Nine millimeter blows the baked potato right out of the oven. Thought I would play it on the stream. So the problem is I played most of the game like 8 months ago. Actually, I've played it several times over development. And like, I didn't want to spoiler an unreleased game 8 months before it releases. Do I enjoy games more when I play them off stream? Probably, yeah, if I'm being honest. Okay, so now the thing is, we kind of want to do a Benny test across the game. It's quite possible that this broke something. And then we want to know what that is. And in fact, okay, so actually before we even do that, let's take that out because that didn't appear to do anything. Let's see. Now, it might have been that both of those were the cause. You know, sometimes you have more than one cause. So let's just see if we could do it. Boom. Okay. Easy clap. Such an easy clap. All right. So now we're going to do the release build. What if you move into the line of sight when the currently moving rock is skipping? That is exactly what we were testing here. And that's the whole thing that this whole transaction system around this game is meant to catch. Didn't look like it. Wait a bit longer. No, if you wait a bit longer, then the stone will actually be in that square, and then the teleport won't fire because it'll say the square is occupied. So the bug that we were trying to fix was a very narrow timing. Yeah, there's a whole thing where the transaction system does not permit things going into the same square, basically. It just by default won't allow that. Can two entities occupy the same location? It sort of depends. Like we have entities that are flat, right? Like a button. Button's an entity, and a dude is an entity, and they could be in the same position. You know, when you're talking about position being just XYZ coordinates. It's just that because one's flat, it could be there. That's all. Did the oolong tea you sent ever arrive? Yes. Let me go get the package. Oh, never mind, because I actually I tried some as soon as I got it, and since I opened the package, I put it in this airtight jar, which you cannot see because the camera's not on, but you can hear me. This is the little, oolong tea, for people who don't know, often, maybe always, maybe not always, but often comes in these little nuggets where like the tea leaves are like wrapped up into tiny situations. And so that's what you hear in the jar. Tea pearls, sort of, but if you say that now, people think you mean the Korean tea pearls, which is a very different thing. Sure is taking a while again to load these. What's happening? Do we have musicians on the team? We are working with an audio team that's external to the company. Is this the general direction it's going to take? Yes. Yes. Obviously, it's not done, but it is the general idea. I mean, this seems like a pretty good fail rate. I mean, obviously, we wish it were 0, but given all the changes that have been made to the movement stuff, this is pretty good. In fact, I think we were at 48 or something. So if it's lower than 48, then that bug fixed fails, which will be great. We'll see. Why does it sometimes freeze during tests? Because computers are not fucking magic. How many levels are there? I don't know. Does Benny test run all levels? There's currently 2 Benny test versions. The one I'm running right now runs levels accessible from the overworld. Am I involved in the design of the world and how it looks? From a high level perspective, I am, but I'm not involved in most of the day-to-day decisions because there's just too much work to do. We're at 40 fails. 41 fails. 42 fails. All right, well, we did fix some problems. We came out of that better than we went in. That's good. Okay. So now, so I left some no check-ins to explain, but what was that level called? Upstream. I should remember that. Okay, but remember when we were seeing the multiple stationary transactions? I want to see if that happens. Like that might have also been a side effect somehow of the other thing. Whoops. All right. Maybe not. We can look into that later. So the other thing that's going to be on the list is, so you see, I'll show you the nuance here, right? So when we teleport the guy, okay, before we go in, you see there's this top, it says transactions. There's number 8, that's green. It says rock linear interpolation. That's the skipping stone going right to left on the south. And then below that we have guy controller proc pushing a rock, okay? So, you know, these transactions change over time. Now we're going to do a teleport here. Okay. Now you see there's a yellow, which means it's not actually physically moved yet. Teleport transaction for this rock. And there we go. Boom. Okay, what was my point in talking about this? Oh, so now it's green, which means it actually moved. But it says teleport. It's still teleporting because this thing has a duration of 0.2 seconds. While it's teleporting, this other stone is still skipping into it, right? And now we have a new skipping transaction starting, except it killed both the stones because it said, hey, there's someone teleporting into this square. It's not in the skipping transaction. So we're trying to skip into that, so we fail, right? Now, on a level like this, we don't really want that to happen. It would be much more playable if, after the rock teleports, instead of insisting on staying in the teleport transaction, it could just get like transplanted to the skipping stone transaction, right? And then this collision wouldn't happen. It would be like, well, okay, it's skipping out of the teleport. Now the thing is, that might break the other level that I made. Maybe not, but it might break the other level that I made about holding the stone So we need to think about what that means. Maybe it's like if there's someone skipping into the square next to you, you transplant directly. But the first step is like to do the transplant, to just put it in that transaction right away. And that's what I might do out in the world today. Really, actually, it's not even if there's anyone next to you, because if it's more like if there's any skipping stone transaction already happening, because you want to sync up with those stones as quickly as possible. That's just like, even in cases where you're not worried about a collision like this, it's just good for game feel to do that. What is the most deep call stack in the entire engine? I don't know. So there's definitely some functions that are recursive that do stuff like parse shaders or whatever. That's probably the deepest that things get. One stone transfers momentum to another. Well, we can't change the laws of the game at this point. I mean, we can. We do make small adjustments to the laws of the game still. But, like, we got to get the game done, right? So we sort of know what the rules are, and we're just proceeding from there. Okay. So now, what do we do with this? We go fill out the comments. This is here to handle stones that are in a different move transaction, but that we want to consider as blockers. We could potentially do this by putting them in a separate array, though. See, colon, doing something else. Okay, so might be in another transaction that completed, like being pushed or teleported, and because it physically moved onto the water, it's the rock.skipping is equal to true. This causes can go to ignore that stone as an obstacle because we asked it to. But because it's still in another transaction, we don't tend to put it into the skipping transaction. Note, maybe we should 100% of the time so long as the stone's prior transaction has committed. In fact, I'm going to explore maybe doing that today, maybe. For now, we have these few cases below where we reject the stone from later processing. In order to be minimally bug prone, we set info.animation and resolve target position so that these functions can just continue without having to redundantly set this stuff. Maybe later we can factor this differently. Then if the stone is really skipping, etc., we change animation. But right now, I am in paranoid bug squashing mode. Okay. Okay, whatever. It's too complicated. While I'm typing that, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to regret this. All right. Commit. Fix stones skipping into other stones bug. All right, guys. Oh, I must have edited that on my laptop. Let's make sure that still compiles. Let's make sure that still runs. You remember when it was still fully 2D? So do I. Believe me, I remember. Boom! Excellent. Excellent work, everybody. Oh, they updated the sound bank. I feel like let's see how big this comes out when it's done. I feel like we're going to want to break this file up. Oh boy. This is the most fun part of game development. Is waiting for gigabyte-sized binary files to get downloaded. And then people ask you, why don't you use Git? And you're like, because I'm a top G. Okay, what file was that? It wasn't init.bank. It's whatever was after that. Default dot bank. 2 gigabytes. Right? That's how many megabytes, gigabytes. All right. That's a little rough. Dang it. I left a no check-in. Oh, yeah. Oh. Let me just test this real fast. Okay, hold on. Hold on. Oh shit. That was a funny one. Dude, okay, that's a different thing. Okay. So here, see how it kind of bumped over for a second? So that second one was like, we're teleporting, and by the time the teleport is done, the stone's on the other side. And I think we want to allow that. Like, that's fully fine. But then, okay, so the stone like squinched over to the side because we did this odd parity rebound thing, which we don't want to do. Other info. That's why I left that no check in there back before, was I was like, I want to differentiate, and I think I just do this, but I don't want to add more if statements until the thing works, right? Because if statements complicate your program and make bugs. Fuck. Like I said, if statements complicate your program and make bugs. Okay. There's so many things that I want to change here. This is probably where the extra stationaries were coming from, by the way. Okay. So the thing is, this doesn't get set. Top Gear. Metal Gear. I thought Top Gear was short for Metal Gear. Boom. What? Oh, because we didn't stop skipping now. That's kind of interesting. Like, there's actually a universe in which that's the behavior that we want. But you know what? Okay. I actually don't want to do that. See, that one we're allowing. It looks a little funny because we start drawing the guy, but he's like still materializing. Yeah, so what I'm going to work on today out in the world is just the gameplay sync. This is already way better to play, I'm sure. Oh, shoot. I forgot to revert this level, by the way. I almost checked it in. Okay, fuck. That is not supposed to happen. That is not a top G thing to happen right there. Okay, so we have one more bug. Dang it, I wanted to go out in the world. Okay, we have a teleport. Fuck. I need to slow down even more. Okay, here... Oh, you know what? I think this is the other thing in Resolve. I think this is this one, guys. We'll see if we get a cowabunga. What's the intended result? I just shouldn't be able to teleport something into another thing, but yeah, it's okay right now if the moving guy hits the other guy and sinks. That's fine. We just don't want any kind of object interpenetration. Okay. That is funny. That is a good resolution to the problem, though. So, yeah, okay, that fixed the problem. So, wait, did we see a cowabunga, though? I gotta wait a little bit longer. Itchy trigger finger. There we go, cowabunga. So you saw the cowabunga. That meant that we rejected that transaction because of the conflict and advanced the time step. And then the time step meant that that stone was in the next square. And then we reran the teleport. And it involved teleporting it back the other way. So that's good. So we do need this. But it was good practice to disable it. Okay, so I want to revert these. And just check this in. Let's actually redo this. So first of all, let's make sure upstream. Too many levels. Upstream 2 was not a thing, right? We could just delete that. Wait, unversioned items is what we're checking for. There aren't any. Great. Okay, so now, so upstream 2, I believe we never did anything with. Oh my God, it's only been like 10 minutes since I said I'm a top G. And that's why I don't use Git. And already somebody is asking. Right. I'm just going to delete this. All right. Wait. All right. Hard restart. So I'm going to just try to play the level now. We don't expect it to be totally good and playable yet. But, like, I just want to know. I want to know where we are at. Okay, that's not a good place to be at. Is this spoilers? Yeah. Why would you think that you're not going to get spoiled watching a development stream for a game? Oops. Dang it. Oops. It's like I've really got to go early here. I could try to go behind. Let's try to go behind, see how it goes. Maybe only bottom G's go behind. Okay, that's way behind. Got it. What is going on with the rotation here? It looks jiggly puffed. I guess it's fine. It's just fast. This is actually playable now. Like, holy shit. I mean, this part might not be. Okay, this part is not that playable. But we can make it more playable for sure. Ah, dude. The stepping onto something that's oncoming doesn't have helper code. So you have to go like late. And then because you have to go late, you don't have as much time to go. But we're top G. We're top G. We can win the level. It's much more playable than it was yesterday. Like, this is close enough to playable that I'm like, yeah, we'll probably ship this level. Can't I loop together with rocks? No. No. What happens if you attempt teleportation in mid-row? They're blocked. They're blocked. Wouldn't one stepping stone be enough to move the exit by waiting on top of it? Look at the level, guys. Look at the level. Look at the level. We thought about this yesterday. Here's what happens. Oops, hold on. Okay, so first, I have to actually... That's not what happens, because it's a little crowded in the beginning. Alright. Here's what happens, guys. Okay, first I missed the stone. Don't worry about that. Dude! Yeah, we need to get that gameplay code going. There we go. Okay. It's very funny though. So see, we already have the equivalent of that code for lily pads moving around. It's just that to be conservative, back when I did that, I hard coded it for lily pads only. Because I just didn't know how it was going to go, and I just wanted to make sure to minimize problems. Yeah, I guess if you haven't seen the dragons before, you wouldn't know what they do. That's true. Dude, I have all these gamer sups that I got for free in the mail that I haven't used. We need to have a gamer sup stream. Gamer sups. All right. But did we actually commit this? Did we commit heresy? All right. Thanks, people, for coming by. I'm going to take a break and go out into the world and do some working out in the world. We can look for someone to raid on twitch.tv.
So let's activate faith.
All right. Okay. So by the way, I go to the Twitch homepage. This is what I see now. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. I don't know why. Plus 18 girls sleepover. Street chess in Romania. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm getting recommended pools and hot tubs, but yeah. It's just what the kids are watching these days. All right, but we want software and game development. That's what top G's do on Twitch. Wait. What I have my windows are confusing me because I'm trying to get back to chat. Okay. Now, escape from Tarkov. We can do that. We can do that. It's pretty interesting how my recommended channels is mostly ladies and K-Mind. Okay. Do people pay for placement over here? I feel like there's got to be some pay for placement on this list. Like, Gingy's a Tarkov player. I watch a bunch of Tarkov players. I've seen her channel a bunch of times. So that's fine. She makes sense in this list. But all these other ones, you don't think so? I don't know. Maybe once you have a good partner deal. If you watch a just chatting stream ever, okay, that's probably. I mean, I've definitely clicked on just chattings. Like, hey, what's K-Mind doing?
That I see. I mostly saw games that I already played. You guys are suggesting good game, by the way. It's just that you're suggesting games I've already played.
Yeah. He's asking for game suggestions, and we know how that goes when Twitch chat is involved. Have you played these 27 games that you already played 10 years ago? Yes. Yes, I have. Okay. So where do we send the people today? Game dev, road to Steam Fest, toujours. It's kind of English until it gets to that part. Expert Rust dev coding a CLI tool. Okay, thanks. Data camp now. Who is a top G in this list? Okay. City builder. Indie game. At least there are a lot of people working on game stuff today, which, I mean, maybe Saturday is better for that, right? Because often we come here and it's expense tracker. Ooh, exciting. Ultra people. Is that like super people, but more? Making a FPS in a week. That's going to be a good FPS. Is Philip Trudeau in here? White box imgui Dawkin.
Yeah, nothing works. Switch.
I mean, he's looking at Twitch chat, so that's pretty good. Maybe your OBS is set to record while streaming. Guys, the internet is over. Okay? Look at this is what we're about to raid you with. We can't do that. We can't do that. All right. Monkey Island. Let's go to this dude. Who was the dude who was mostly English and then a little bit of French? This guy. Road to Steam Fest. This is good. It's aspirational. It looks like he's using terrible Godot script that nobody should ever use, but you could be supportive. Well, the text is in frickin' French. I don't want to do that. I mean, the variable names are English. Okay, we'll raid that. Thanks everybody for coming by. We'll see you later.
Comment je fais pour ce bordel là? Parce que je peux pas changer le power.